It's a great honor for me to be here today. Thank you, our good friend Emmanuel Macron, President of France, for putting together this amazing summit. It's a great honor for me also to share the stage with such a distinguished group of world leaders. There's no doubt that climate change is the biggest challenge of our time. There's no doubt that we need to act boldly, that we need to identify the right policies. And there's no doubt that there are two concepts that must come together. One is carbon neutrality. And we had a very enriching conversation in Glasgow to reach carbon neutrality in the following decades, putting 2050 as a milestone. But we also have to consider another concept: nature positive. Both have to go together. And you may ask, why am I talking about those two concepts coming from Colombia? My country only represents 0.6% of all the world greenhouse gases emissions, but it's one of the most threatened countries by the effects of climate change. And we're also the #2 country in the world in biodiversity. We have made a clear statement, and we express it in Glasgow. We want to reach carbon neutrality by 2050, and we want to reduce our CO2 emissions by 51% in 2030. But we also need to embrace the concept of nature positive. And we come today to this very important summit not with a pledge, but with a reality. This year, in 2022, we're not going to wait until 2030. This year, we're going to have 30% of Colombian maritime area declared a protected area. This means that we're going to duplicate this year the maritime protected areas. And we're going to do the same thing inland, protecting overall thousands of square kilometers, protecting species, but also making an additional call. This has to be done in a teamwork. And that's why Colombia has also joined Ecuador, Costa Rica, and Panama. And the four altogether have created the largest protected area, or the largest maritime protected area in the world. We signed that agreement in Glasgow. And today we're working together, sharing our knowledge, our policies, to achieve that common purpose. But I also have to say today that we need to act decisively on a very complicated matter. Atolls and the coral reefs must be protected, and they are threatened day by day through trawling practices. And trawling is the equivalent of sea deforestation. Trawling is destroying the coral reefs around the world. And the coral reefs are the center for life of 40% of all sea species. So putting an end to the negative trawling practices is something that we must all embrace, and we must do it rapidly. And that implies that through legislation and through clearly executing the protection of the areas of the maritime areas of our countries, we can certainly do that. But that also implies that we need to identify also mechanisms to support different types of fisheries. We in Colombia have prohibited any form of shark fishery, and we have demonstrated that when you invest $1 in a maritime protected area, you can win out of $5 to $6 in investment that come through ecotourism. So you can make a big change in the way of living of local communities. But I'm also happy, Emmanuel, that we're coming today to this summit with a clear purpose. And today, with a good friend, Audrey Azoulay, we will be presenting the file so that the Tribu Ga Bay in Colombia can be declared a World Biosphere Reserve. This is also a major statement in a very important area of our country. And together with Conservation International, we are restoring 1 million corals in our country, primarily in the Caribbean. And we have also approved a climate action bill that has stated a big purpose in a developing country like Colombia. By the year 2030, all single-use packaging must be recyclable, reusable, and compostable. And that means a major change in industry with a clear conscience. We also launched an Artemis campaign to fight deforestation, and we have extended that campaign to fight trawling and protect the coral reefs. So all this put together demonstrates that a country that is only 0.6% of the world greenhouse gas emissions have embraced one of the most ambitious objectives when it comes to climate change. But it has also reached the most important element, which is the 30 by 30 in 2022. So, distinguished heads of state, and Emmanuel, thank you again for putting together this summit. We are working together in a common purpose. There's no planet B. This is our moral duty. And with all the objectives that are not pledges that we're meeting, we're demonstrating to the countries that have contributed the most to the climate action situation we face that if a country like Colombia does it, big countries should do the same. Thank you so much.